Welcome everyone. We got a great group here today for everybody to kind of get a chance to listen to. All right, there we go. And I'm looking forward to today as well. It's been great. There's a lot of new faces here, and that's the best part. Today we're going to be covering essentially the classes that we're going to be doing classes and kind of seminar clinics that we're doing at Golf Wars. The fun part is that we are going to be doing adding some clinics, which are like a little bit not quite one-on-one, but maybe a very limited group that goes across the whole day, which is Antigone had a great idea to put that together and did some really nice like forms and things like that to fill those classes in. I'm really looking forward to see how that works, because I think it's going to be a great addition to our Penzic classes that we do quite often, or for the last number of years. But first thing I want to say is a huge thanks to Antigone for kind of pulling this all together and making this run and getting this group of people together to teach stuff. And Gabe's been blowing me off for years trying to do stuff on here. Xerxes hates me. He won't fight me. And Magnus and me are buddies. So I knew he'd come. And Simon and I talk a lot, so it's cool. And I've been trying to get Edward on for a long time. I am super happy he's going to be teaching this year. He has so much good stuff to share. He's at everything. I have no clue how he does it. I'm guessing that he's quietly one of those billionaires that travel everywhere, and but just doesn't want people to know. So welcome everybody, and I'm going to throw this at Antigone, and let's go ahead and let's talk about the day and what's going on.
Yeah, so thank you, Brannos. So first of all, thank you everybody for being here. I sent out a request. Oop, there we go. I sent out a request yeah, Brannos is breaking us.
I tell you, I don't want to. I'm having issues here. There we go. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to catch. I know. I'm trying to catch up. Oh, this is going to be difficult. Oh, there we go. Thank you. I think Sadb fixed it. All right.
I think we broke it with how many people we have on the show at once, maybe. So I sent out a message to a bunch of people that I knew were amazing instructors and just so skillful and had helped me out so much, and had a big ask of can you come to Golf War and will you teach at a Coaches Corner Symposium? And I'm so fortunate that so many very talented instructors and knowledgeable people said, yes, we would love to. So we have been asked for a couple of years, as Brannos was talking about kind of earlier with all of us, that we do something like this at Golf War. It's very similar to Penzic, but with Penzic, we have all of Peace Week and we kind of can do whole days, whereas Golf War is a very compacted schedule. So it was a really big logistics challenge trying to figure out how to fit everything into one kind of compacted time frame, and kind of the struggles with that. So I'm really excited that we worked on it last year, figured it out, and then this year we're actually executing it and doing it. So this year we've put out an amazing schedule. The first being what we're going to do tonight is kind of go through the classes with our instructors that are here, and then we'll cover the ones that are for our instructors that aren't here, as well as talk about something that's really cool and new to Coaches Corner, which is the clinics that we're doing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put the spotlight on His Majesty Xerxes, who has to leave us, so we're going to let him go ahead and tell us all about his amazing footwork class, which is actually going to be run at 1 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. So for many years, a lot of people have been curious about my footwork and what I do to train it, anything like that. And the reality is I wrestled for about 7 years. So a lot of my body mechanics and footwork played into fighting really well. And so I know not everybody in the SCA that fights has had an athletic background, whatever sport you might do. So with the help of Jay, His Excellency Jay from Callantyre, we've started to discuss, how to teach basics for footwork and body mechanics. So I'm going to kind of start from the ground up on that, walk through some of the basics of where we want feet to be, how we want to float our weight in between our feet, and then translate that into how you're moving in a fight. Obviously, we want to be able to generate power throughout the fight, no matter where you're at. And a lot of that just requires having your feet where they need to be. A lot of people outstep themselves or don't have a strong base when it comes to it. So kind of dissecting that, trying to solve some of people's initial problems, but a lot of it's just going to start from making sure your body's in the right place, making sure your feet are underneath you in a healthy way, and then being able to move through that and end up whatever you're trying to do, ending up in a powerful position to then create your shots off of it. So I labeled it as a beginner to intermediate. It can stretch all the way up to advanced if you want to get more into the nitty gritty stuff. I think I've got about an hour for it. So we'll do a lot of the basics as we move through it. And then towards the end, if there's any more detailed questions that we have, we can dive into those. We're going to do a couple of basic step-by-step trainings that you can do. So you can go home with it and work on it there. Because obviously this is not going to be innate or natural to some folks. So it might take some muscle memory to gain through that. But I think if you take it home and you work on it, and then you start to implement it into your actual fights during fighter practice and stuff, it should hopefully become more muscle memory from then on out. And it should create a good base for most fighters. Obviously not everything applies to everybody, but for the most part, it should be a pretty basic footwork class and positioning class for your body that should help assist with power with your shot, good positioning in the fight, and allowing you to kind of move more in 3 dimensions throughout your fight. So that's really the basis for it, and that's at least my plan for attacking that.
So quick question. If someone decides they want to come to your class, do they need to bring anything?
No, actually, just bring yourselves. We're not going to do anything. You could bring a sword if you want. We could probably get into generating power off of that. But for the most part, we're not going to be doing a lot of fighting. It's just going to be a lot of moving your feet around, getting into a strong base, making sure that you're floating your weight in between your muscle groups on your legs and in the top of your body. So a lot of it's going to be very much just what's going to seem like walking around, but with purpose. So
bring your running shoes.
Yeah. Whatever you fight in, actually, I think would be best. So that way you can get a feel for that.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Your Majesty, and thank you for joining us today. And I really look forward to seeing your class at 1 p.m. And that's going to be 1 p.m. on Tuesday at the Champions Field. We also did get a question that I didn't address at the beginning. I meant to, and that is it going to be live streamed? Of course. The classes are going to be live streamed. As well as they will then be, once they're live streamed, we will save them and then they'll get published to YouTube and then they'll be out there for history. The clinics are not going to be live streamed. They may be recorded by the students or the instructor, and the students may choose to publish those or give those to us to publish. But currently the clinics run 2 hours each. So that's just a little long to kind of try and live stream and then publish and everything else on our end. And also they're very geared towards those specific individuals. But we're going to talk about clinics later. Next, we're going to talk to...
hold on before you keep going. I got a couple of questions. Hey, Xerxes, quick question for you. So you said this is the first time you taught this class? And second one is, how many Golf Wars have you been to already?
Oh, absolutely. So I've definitely taught this class in my private classes or private practices in my backyard, but also at practice when anybody's curious. I've kind of broken it down real, not specifically, but if anybody's ever asked, I've kind of walked folks through it. So it's definitely the first time I think I've taught it on a grander scale outside of just a personal practice. But so yeah, I'll see if I can get something typed up so we actually have a curriculum for it. And then I've been going to Gulf Wars. My first one was 16. So over the past 17 years, I think I maybe missed 3 or 4 through college.
Nice.
So
man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll hang out for a little bit more and then
appreciate it.
kind of bail out when I need to. So
Okay, sounds good. I am having some difficulties for everyone else to know. I am having a few difficulties with switching people. Side, can you see? There we go. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Antigone. All you again. I'll move you to the screen.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. So we did have those two questions that I was also supposed to ask, and thank you,
That's all
Brannos, for
right.
jumping in and reminding me. I'll make sure that those get answered by everybody else. But thank you again, Xerxes, Your Majesty. And then we're gonna move on to Duke Gabe, who's gonna tell us all about this fantastic module class that he and Duke Zip are teaching together for the first time.
It will be very exciting to have me and my brother try and talk over each other for an hour. You guys are going to love it. My name's Gabe. I'm from Artemisia. I'm going to be teaching the class my older brother, Duke Zipser, out of Aidenvelt. We've been doing a lot of Gulf Wars. Our whole family goes. We've been going, I think we've missed a couple since 2002. It's one of our favorite wars, so we're really happy that Coaches Corner is doing something cool there. Our class is basically going to be Madu from beginning to however far you want to take it. We're going to kind of start out with the basics, just stance and things like that. Actually, if you take Xerxes class prior, that would be awesome and helpful, because being able to move in a fight is a very important thing. And a lot of the things will translate from, honestly, Xerxes footwork class. We're going to start with, like I said, stance, different shots and things like that. Just truly the basics of holding the Madu in your hand and working with the sword. From there, we're going to kind of get into the methodology of actually using the weapons together and to manipulate your opponents and get them to move around, and give yourself some more opportunities to kill your opponent in that movement. And then we'll get a little more into the advanced manipulation and allowing yourself to open up your opponent a lot more with a little more ease. But it takes a lot of things that all go together to make that easy. And so that's why we're starting with the basics of just how to hold the weapons and move around. And honestly, depending on who's in the class and what information they're looking for, me and my brother can adapt. We fight them very differently than each other. And even we grew up in the Outlands where they have a lot of Madus, and our knight was Duke Bela, who is a very good Madu fighter, but me and my brother both fight very differently from even him. And so you'll have a lot of different ideas coming at you in the class, and a lot of them all kind of strive on the same things: is manipulate your opponent with one weapon, hit him with the other. It's when it comes down to two weapons, that's basically what you're working with. It's just different ways to do it. And that's kind of our whole class.
I'm super excited about it, that we're having more module classes come out, and it's gaining more popularity and kind of becoming a little bit more mainstream. It's a really fun weapon combination, and I personally really enjoy it since I'm part of Team Madu. So, and I also am very fortunate that both Duke Bela, Duke Zip, and Duke Gabe have all helped me with my Madu game. And I will say I wouldn't be a very good Madu fighter if I hadn't learned from all three of them. So this is an excellent opportunity and a fantastic class. You already answered pretty much all of our questions that we're going to ask everybody, but I did have one, and that is, do the students need to bring anything to the class?
Bring whatever Madu you use. So because they're all a little different and everyone has different, and they kind of work differently. So whatever Madu you like to use, and honestly, we may tell you to adjust it a little bit, but bring what your normal tool is, and we can take a look at it and see. In all reality, we don't know everything. So if you look at us and go, you guys are idiots, I'm not going to do that. That's perfectly fine, and we accept that. But we'll try to give you the best advice we can on what tools you're working with.
Awesome. No, thank you so much, Brannos. We can't hear you. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, I've only been doing this for a few years. So in the class, are you going to kind of go over a little bit for those that are interested in defending against a Madu, or just pretty much just going to be, hey, pick up a Madu, and it's perfectly fine if it is that way, because to tell you the truth, really lot of people, if they're trying to learn, really want to focus on learning it. I know I'm bringing mine, so you can laugh as much as you want, and if you want to turn a drinking game into it, it'd probably be fun too. But how many times I missed that bottom thrust and stuff like that. So.
Oh, we will definitely teach you. So I consider the Madu a cheater weapon. I just happen to be a cheater, so I use it. So I basically spend a lot of my time just teaching my friends how to beat it. So there will be a lot of like, this is the idea of what you're trying to do with the Madu, and this is what counters it. This is what, if people trust what they're doing and don't fall for the feints of the Madu, it's a lot easier to just look at us like we're the idiots we are with this stupid stick in our hand and hit us in the head. So there will be a lot of, if you are a sword and shield fighter that is struggling fighting against Madus, we 100% will help you and give you some cheat codes. And really, it's just trusting your defense and not letting us mess with your head. Like that's all the Madu is pointing at things until people move and then hitting them where they moved away from. So there's a lot of little things that can help you against them.
Yeah, and
Gabe's
I think
gonna give away all of our secrets.
Yeah, well, and I think the key to that is exactly what you talked about before, and that's really taking Xerxes class and feet, man. That's been grinding on that for years. So
100%. That is, it's my brother has very fast feet, but not super good feet. And then I have better placement on my feet. And so you can kind of see the different ways to work with it. And so, yeah, feet is my favorite way to open up and get out of things. But there are different ways to do it too. So, but yeah, feet is definitely the easiest way to just not get hit.
Awesome. I really look forward to it. And thanks for coming on, man.
Heck yeah. Thank you guys.
So, Brannos, we were talking about the footwork class. They're talking about Gabe's class. Let me show the schedule so everybody can see how they could get from the footwork then to the Madu class real quick. If I can figure out how to share my screen. Let's see here. There it is. And give it a whirl. Can you pick it? Yeah, there it is. Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to start our day at about 12:45, 15 minutes before the start of classes. Just a quick introduction so you can meet all the instructors that are able to be there that morning, tell you a little about Coaches Corner and what we're doing for the day. And then we'll go right into our first two classes, which is Footwork Fundamentals with His Majesty Xerxes, Callantir. And you can kind of see here, we have a little bit of a description and what it's about. And then the next class is going to be, or this class running at the same time is Lead versus Follow, Who Controls the Fight by Her Royal Highness Scythe and Louis. They're going to be combined teaching it from the Mid-Realm. It's a fantastic class. She'll talk about it here in a little bit, but it's amazing. I learned so much, and things I didn't think about, it really helped me. So both of those are going to run at 1 p.m. So they'll last about an hour. All of our classes are an hour. And then at our 2 p.m., we'll switch over and we'll have Yara Alienon from Aitenbelt and then Duke Brannos are going to team up and teach us all about freezes and fakes, which is a fantastic class. I believe this is one of the classes that got a lot of views that people ask about all the time and really answers a lot of questions for our intermediate to advanced kind of people out there. So that's running at 2 to 3. Same time, we'll be having spear dueling from Sir Magnus, who is joining us, I believe, the first time he's teaching with us. So we're going to have kind of, it's intermediate, advanced, beginner, intermediate. It kind of depends. Spear can be all over the place. So, but he has a really great outline and teaches Spear quite often at his local group. So we're happy to have him teach at 2. Top of the hour at 3, this is where you're going to go from your footwork, go to something else at 2, and then at 3, you're going to hit the Madu class if you want to move from footwork to Madu. And that will be with Duke Gabe and Duke Zips, the wonderful, wonderful class, as I've already said. Sorry, I'm a Madu fighter. I love it. And then we also are going to have Count Simon teach. I believe that's the first time he's teaching with us as well.
Edward's class. You got Edward's
I
class.
did? Oh my goodness, Edward, I'm so sorry. I messed up. That's not Count Simon at 3. It's Edward's class, Duke Edward, who is also the first time teaching with Coaches Corner. I was incredibly excited when I reached out to Duke Edward and said, "Hey, I have a spot open. Is there any way you can teach?" And he said, "Oh, I just happen to be going to Gulf War and I happen to be free that hour." He is a fantastic teacher. I sat and talked with him and listened to him talk about fighting for probably at least 2 hours one day, just watching a battlefield. Could probably talk all day with him about fighting. Fantastic teacher, and he's going to be teaching assessing your opposition for melee and singles prior to developing a plan of attack. Very, very great logic, and it's going to be an impressive class. I'm super excited about it. So he's here on the show, so he'll be talking about it here shortly. So that's our 3 p.m. Sorry about that. And then our 4 p.m. top of the hour is going to be our last 2 sets of classes is how to control a fight. And this is going to be applicable to rattan and rapier, I believe, is what Count Simon gave me, and probably cut and thrust as well. A lot of things, fighting is fighting, so a lot of this stuff can translate over. And so he's going to be walking through that. He has a great outline for it, beginner to advanced. Same time, Duke Brannos is going to be running internal and external tension and how to control it. This is something that a lot of up-and-coming intermediate to advanced fighters start learning and working on. So it's great that he's presenting this class. And I'm fairly sure this is not the first time you've taught this, right, Brannos?
No. Yeah, no, that's my life right now.
Yeah, I figured. So
Side stole all my movement classes and now just left me with that.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to come up with something new. So then we have at the very end of our day, we're going to close it out with just this corner, this debrief. Really, it's going to be us thanking everybody, a quick summary of the day, how to find the recorded classes, and then we're also this year going to have kind of a form for feedback. So you'll be able to tell us, what you thought about, the format, anything else, and kind of give us some feedback, which is going to be great. Great for us so that we can work on how to do the Gulf Wars Symposium next year even better, and 2, it'll give us really good information for going into Penzic as we're about to start putting together our Penzic classes and symposium. The last thing that we have going on is down here is our clinics. This is, like I said, brand new for this year. We have Duke Sven and Count Elias who will be teaching the clinics. Unfortunately, we did have Duchess Helga, but she is unable to make it in time in order to teach the clinics this year. So we're hoping we can convince her to do something maybe next year with us. But Duke Sven is going to be able to be here tonight, so he's going to talk about his clinic, and then we'll cover Count Elias's clinic as well. But that's how our schedule's looking, and I'm super excited about it. With that being said, let me figure out how to get my little cursor over here to stop sharing. There we go. And then we have more coaches to talk to. So
all right.
Yeah. Let's see. So Edward, I know you kind of joined us a little bit late, but would you be willing to go through your super interesting, at least to me, it's very interesting, assessing your opposition class?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. That's been the chore up until this point. So I came into the SCA out of a LARPing group, and I came into this game on the melee field. And besides, learning how to win a crown tournament, I became a Duke, teaching people, and through that process, learned that lexicon matters, and that fighting is fighting, and there are concepts that are easier to understand either in the context of a melee engagement versus the context of a singles fight, and vice versa. If I look at a brandy new fighter and say, do you understand the benefits of flanking an enemy unit? I can get everybody to nod their head up and down. But you look at that same brandy new fighter and you tell them, take a step to the right, and they don't understand why, or a step to the left. And so that is part of it, understanding how to look at a fight from those perspectives, as well as I presume everybody who enters into Coaches Corner understands this concept of mastery and this idea of, 2,000, 10,000 hours, if you apply yourself, can lead to mastery. Well, I would ask people to raise their hand if they've done 2,000, 10,000 hours of melee work. And the answer is generally no, right? That's kind of hard to get to. But if you approach fighting from the perspective of this singles concept works on the melee field and vice versa, you can cross-train rather quickly and get your singles fighting to advance your melee fighting and vice versa. So that is the context in which I want to talk about assessing your opponent. Before I step into a list, before I step onto the war field, I need to develop a plan of attack, a way to contain the fight so that I can bring my strengths to bear versus my opponent's. And so the most important piece in that plan is understanding my relative strengths versus my opponent's. And the number of times on a melee field or a singles field, I've seen people bring a backward strategy to apply, we could write a book. And that experience forced me to write a treatise on this very topic on the melee field, because I watched people give orders that had nothing to do with the context of the fight in which they were in. And so my basic thesis is, before you approach any match, you should be considering what strengths you bring to bear and how you can use those strengths to set up your ultimate victory, whichever field you happen to be on. And so I'll use some anecdotes. In this class, if people have a weapon just to bring, because it sometimes provides visual spacing, concepts of range and distance and angle, feel free. But this class doesn't require any weaponry to participate in. I always suggest bring a notebook, just because some thoughts will land and you want to write them down so they go through your head one more time. And so in a nutshell, that's what I plan to talk about and ramble on for about 2 hours, because I ramble. Antigone, any other questions?
Yeah, we do have some base questions. The first one being, how many Gulf Wars have you been to?
Yep. I started going to Gulf Wars probably like 15, 17 years ago, something like that. And I've made most of them.
That's pretty impressive. More than me, but I think you've been around a little longer than I have. So
Yeah. I hide the gray.
And then, so have you taught this class before?
I haven't taught this class before. I have taught these concepts a whole bunch individually, but not as a class.
Awesome. I know we've talked about a lot in person. And I know you touched on some of these topics like briefly with me a bit when we were just discussing like fight theory and just the general theory and SCA and everything else. So I think it's really awesome. I'm actually going to be going to your class and I hope Gabe and Zip don't mind that I skipped the module class, but your class is so intriguing and appeals to my the mental side of fighting so much to me, which is what you're so fantastic with. And then, so do students need to bring anything with to your class other than maybe a notebook or?
Yeah, no, you don't need to bring anything. If you have a preferred weapon to, I will be going varying. The way I tend to instruct in person, I will be going back and forth between orating like this, writing on a whiteboard if I got it, and setting people up in formation and relative position to discuss advantages and positions. And so we'll do a little bit of that back and forth to help you see things in a different way, if that's helpful. I try to say a thing multiple ways, same information multiple ways if I can, to hope that it reaches more people that way.
Yeah, no, I definitely know in our conversations we talked about the same thing probably 2 or 3 times in different ways and went back and forth just with using different verbiage and different ways of saying it, which was fantastic for me. I really understood the concepts better that way. And then talking about, so I know you can go over fight theory and definitely your topics of interest for a really long time. So would you, and this is kind of going to be a thing where we do ask a lot of coaches if they can like hang out before or after, if they're not going to attend a class, kind of, do you think you would have time during the symposium to kind of, answer questions or work with people outside of maybe your class, since I know you like to kind of talk a little bit more?
Yeah, so I should be able to hang around before and after, and I'm generally approachable. If you see me at war and I'm not on a mission, feel free to raise your hand and flag me down.
Yeah, you're definitely, once I get you talking, very friendly and very open and very much want to share, which I think is true of every coach that I've ever met in Coaches Corner. Is every single one of you want to share, you want people to grow, you want people to become, they're a better fighter and just a better everything all and over. And it's, if you, and I'll say from when I was young, like new, and I kind of came to you and some of the others, and I felt really embarrassed to ask you because I was so new to it all, new to fighting and everything, and asking somebody that's great like Duke Edward, can you show me something basic? Felt so like I felt embarrassed to even be asking, like I wasn't worth your time. And I will say this, every single one of you have come to me and told me that if I'm going to put what you give me to use and I train and I continue the path and I give back, that it's totally not a waste of your time. So for all of you that are watching right now, they're like newer, maybe a year in, or you're lower level, it's totally okay to ask each one of these coaches questions, to have them work with you. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you're wasting their time. You absolutely are not. They are here to help you, and they really do want to do that. So, but thank you so much, Ed, for joining us. I'm so excited for your class and really look forward to it. Brannos, did you have any questions? Did I miss anything?
No, I'm just totally happy. I'm looking forward to like watching the video after. It's always interesting for me, it's always interesting how people teach, because there's so many methods and so many different ways of teaching itself, and people kind of fall into, we see this with people directly with at practices where their people are so used to listening to them that they no longer really listen. So it's really nice sometimes to get outside and get that same information sometimes come in a different way. And it really helps you kind of change your mindset and even opens you back to like, that's what I've been learning. That's what he's been saying. So it's kind of reinforces. And so this is why it's always nice to go to other people's classes. Because for me, what I really like is learning to say it a different way, because sometimes saying a different way also triggers that thought complex, which allows them to like, oh, is that what you're trying to say? I'm like, that's what I've been saying for 6 months, type of deal. So it's why I've been kind of looking forward to getting a chance to kind of listen to Edward teach, because he has so much background. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you.
All right, who do we got next there?
Yeah, next in our lineup, Sven's kind of coming in and out, but I think he's still traveling, so we're gonna wait a little bit on him.
Yep.
So Magnus has been super patient. He's he's coming first time to Coaches Corner to teach. We're super excited to have him. And he comes from Onstiora and the DFW practice. And I remember when he first moved to Dallas, and I was super excited, and not yet a squire even. So it's super awesome to be able to see him as a knight and then coming to join us on this show. So Max, you want to tell us about your spear class?
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. This will be my first time teaching this class through Coaches Corners, but I have taught this class. There is a older video on YouTube. I can get that link It's a little bit older, a couple of years old, but the fundamentals are still the same. I've taken kind of the things I learned back then, distilled it down. So this spear class is going to be for anyone. If you've never picked up a spear, this is your very first time, perfect, come here. If you're someone who considers yourself a spear god, come on over. Hopefully you can learn something new. The basics is going to be how you hold the spear, how you stand. I do spear a little different, kind of coming up and fighting in melees. I noticed everyone was doing a spear a certain way, which is what I dubbed the casting spear, which is where we see people throw, their spear leaves their hand and goes. I prefer more of a shot style, where I treat the spear almost like a 9-foot rapier, where we won't be throwing it out of our hand, and we're going to use kind of our body positioning and footwork kind of give us an advantage. I've noticed with a little bit of technique, you can gain the same amount of distance you would as if you stepped in through it, but you have follow-up shots a lot quicker. So from the beginning, we're going to kind of, again, set everyone up. If you have a spear, bring it. If you don't have anything, come and watch. If you only have a yardstick, a sword, kind of do anything you can, kind of get the fundamentals. From there, I'll kind of, again, introduce that shot style, how to repeatedly throw a shot, how you can do that in a one-on-one basis. And from that, you can take that and apply it over to the melee field, where you're fighting 2 spears at a time, 3 spears, 4 spears at a time. You might not be the most effective, but you can definitely kind of fumble up a group of people and kind of let your spears or your soldiers on your side do work on their side. So from there, I'll then go in kind of the more advanced, how you can self-train that. Something, if you don't pick it up there, if you're saying, I don't know how to do this, you'll be able to take something home, put a couple of hours in, put tens of hours, put 100 hours into this, take it back the next year and see how you do with that style out on the field. So that's the basics of what I'm looking to do with my spear dueling course. Kind of jumping over to those other questions, I'm very fortunate that this will be my 5th consecutive Gulf Wars. I love Gulf Wars. It's my favorite thing of the year. And what was that other question? I think I addressed all the other questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, I may have missed it. So do the students come in your class, do they have to bring a spear or gauntlets, or?
If you have nothing, come. If you can't, I mean, the most one-to-one is going to be in your gauntlets that you fight spear with, in your armor that you fight with. That'll be the most directly translatable to taking it onto the field. If you have nothing, you can come. No, I will, between my wife and I believe we have 6 or 7 spears. I'll try to bring any extras I have as loaners for people to pick up. A glaive will work. And like I said, even if you only have a sword, long sword, anything, you'll be able to kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about with this style.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of our other coaches are chiming in that they'll be able to bring either their spear or 1 or 2 of their loaners. So we'll definitely have plenty of spears for everybody of different sizes if you don't have your own. So that'll be awesome. Awesome. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to give up your afternoon to come teach and join us. And hopefully we can convince you to come to Penzic and maybe teach.
I'm going to try to swing it. It's going to depend on some work stuff, some life stuff, and some SCA stuff. So we'll see how that goes. One thing I do want to touch on for this class, if you're someone who considers yourself a very small person, maybe someone who's not super strong or athletic, using this style, I'll go over ways that probably someone of any size will take this style and maybe have to then rein it back because they'll be told they're stabbing too hard. So if you're someone 5 foot, 100 pounds, you can still use this technique to generate plenty of power that anyone on that field is going to call. So if you're someone who's kind of been afraid of spear, saying, I don't know if I'm big enough or strong enough, no one calls my shots, we'll definitely go over some stuff to work with that.
Okay.
Jump in real quick. I can't agree more with you talking about, taking the time to do it. We spent a lot of years. I know I spent a lot of years having spear. And one thing I drilled everyone, we had spear practice every week. And if you're a spear person, you needed to go to spear practice every week. The difference is the majority, probably more than 80% of the society, fight spear at Penzic. And this goes to what Edward says: get your 10,000 hours in. The more hours you put on something, the better you become at it. And I've seen some people that were really not necessarily great fighters, but they spent their time on spear and they could shoot with some of the best per se spearmen that were already doing it, you know, that were out there, because they spent the time on it and they made that effort. And I think, you know, Magnus, you're 100% right. This is the key here is, you know, not only doing it during the summer, but try to get it, you know, make 6-foot spears for the wintertime. If you're somewhere where winter means you're indoors, make 6-foot spears and work them hard, you know, even, you know, add a lot more drills. Ours was, a lot of our spears were drill for probably about an hour. And then we break into small combat stuff where we do small, you know, 2-on-1 drills, 3-on-2 drills to make sure people understood how to talk and do those things. And then we'd go and spar. So we added every layer of class style inside of that. And it really did help pretty fast. So you can really put a good spear team together in a very short period of time if you're willing to put the effort into learning and going to classes like Magnus is going to be doing.
And something to touch on, part of this class is it makes the self-training actually pretty enjoyable and fun. You know, when we're at war, when we're around people, yeah, it's great to be in front of people, but we talked about that 10,000 hours. You're putting in 30 minutes, you know, best case an hour. This lets you take home something that you could put in that 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. You know, if you're feeling crazy, an hour a day, doing that every day, a couple times a week over the year adds up. So when you go to your next event, you really see the results. That makes you more excited. Now you want to come train more and train more on your own and improve more. So I'm hoping that was my experience with this, and I'm hoping that too, that'll be instilled in everyone that takes this class.
Well, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, that just touches on the whole thing of, you know, doing something is better than doing nothing. I say this all the time. We have people that are saying, well, you know, I'm injured, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. I'm like, look, just do something, anything, even if it's going out to your Pell and just hitting it for, you know, 5 minutes a day. Doing that is more than doing nothing, and putting in the work and the time is really how you get somewhere. So so if you can do something, do it, even if it's something small. But one of the things that we have really, really cool this year, it's new, it's exciting, is that we're doing this clinics. And this idea was kind of, I came up with this idea last year at Penzic, and I pitched it to Brannos, and he said, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. Unfortunately, some things fell through. We weren't able to do it. And I said, hey, let's try it at Gulf Wars. I think it'd be really cool and fun. And so I was really fortunate that Duke Sven, Count Elias, both agreed, that said, hey, yeah, well, we're willing to do this. But really what these clinics are they are 2-hour time blocks in which the instructors I made a sign up form for them asking a whole bunch of questions. And if you wanted to attend a clinic, you'd send in your form, and then the instructors would take a look at it and kind of build their clinics from there. And there's 2 clinics for each instructor. So there's a 1 to 3 and then a 3 to 5. So they're 2-hour time blocks. And the idea is to have a very, very small pool of fighters, roughly 2 to 4 or 5 in the class. And for 2 hours, the instructor is going to be focusing solely on the goals that you have, and kind of working with what you have now and and how we can get you there. Each instructor has a very different ways of teaching and how they do things. This is very individualized. Because of that, we're not going to live stream it, and it's kind of going to be up to the students or the instructor if they want to video it. Just so you guys know, if this goes well, then I'm hoping Brannos will let us have this as an addition at Penzic as well, where we have a lot more time. But we do have one instructor here tonight. That's Duke Sven, who is available to kind of talk about his clinic, what he's going to be focusing on, and kind of how he runs clinics, because he's done these for many years, actually, even in foam fighting. So Duke Sven, you're muted, but if you want to unmute and take it away.
Thank you, Antigone. I appreciate it. We first started doing these years ago in foam, and we brought them with us over here. It's kind of how we teach our guys. And the last, 8-10 years, we've been having a lot of people who would come train with us when we were in Dallas. And we really honed in on this class on how to teach people to be better and improve, and then by proxy, win crown. They're not necessarily the same thing, but one will feed into the other. It's a specific goal versus like overall improvement. But I have a pretty structured class. We kind of go over. I've had some video of how you fight. We talk about why, where you're doing some things. We kind of get some feedback. As a two-sword fighter, primarily, I have a pretty regimented approach for how I like to do stuff, which works for some, but doesn't others. But we just go from what that looks like. And then if we see any kind of deficiencies and stuff, we go over like how I would improve that, like what you could do routine-wise, drilling-wise, improvement through exercise. There's a whole list of things we have people go do. Like it's a whole routine. And I'll have a printouts for my class, and then we go from that, and then it's specific things about how to win crown. Because crown is mental and it's physical, right? You're never going to win if you don't have the mindset for it, but you're certainly not going to win if you're not prepared to win, right? And some of that goes in there as far as like what you should be able to do, like the mindset and the approach and how you attempt to win a tournament. That's a whole process, but you need to have your bases built first. So it's a pretty well written class. I have several handouts. I know Antigone has many of these. She probably wrote half of them or rewrote mine. But we have plenty of information to go over. And if other people want to come watch, I'm okay with that. But I don't need any feedback, right? They're going to be for, I think, 2 and 1. I think I have 4 in the other, 3 or 4. We're going to
you have three and 2, and I think one of them there was someone who wanted to come, but is going to come as kind of auditing, viewing it, rather than participating.
Yeah, we'll go from like how we teach at the beginning. I'll have a bag over just because I like to be able to hit something, kind of like show you our approach, and then we go from how we teach and how we train. Because I'll have my padded bats with me, and then how that process looks like, and then how to specific skill set improve. Like instead of just like fighting for a deal, we talk about how we focus on how we make a list of individuals' deficiencies, your 1 and your 2, and then how we do that feedback and how we improve through that. And then specifically from that, once you've honed on that, you can use that to build into a crown list and to what that should look like in the whole process. I've had some success over the last 4 or 5 years teaching people. I don't know, probably 7 or 8 now. They come down and who've won pretty handily afterwards. So it's yeah, I was like, it's 8. I was like, it's work since the process. I think a lot of people they get out there and they want to fight more, and that's necessarily good, but it's not a logical approach. You can't see improvement. You don't see your plateaus. You don't have a way to track your progress and your improvement. And I find that if people have the ability to do that, that positivity and the ability to see that improvement definitely helps reinforce wanting to do it more, because the training and the grind and the approach to being better is not the funnest thing, especially in when you're trying to get to the far end of one spectrum. You're trying to be an outlier on that end. There's not a lot of balance in some of those things. You're going to give more than you want to, and so it has to be. It's got be a little fun in there and a lot of drive. But it'd be overall how we do it, and then kind of how it's approached. I welcome people to come watch, and it's a pretty well developed class. And I know I'll have some signings, some stuff, and then Antigone has a section she used to teach. We've done this a bunch, so I am super good with it. I'm glad we bring it here to the SCA, and it kind of gives a bigger exposure on how we do it inside my household. I think it'll be 3 or 4 of my guys over there with me, kind of helping, going through some of the training stuff, and it kind of helps facilitate some of the pieces early on.
Yeah, and I definitely did reach out to Ragnar originally and asked him to come teach a class. He unfortunately has some other life issues and things like that going on, so he didn't feel like he was available to teach his own class. But he is going to be able to, I think, join some of your clinics, or at least part of it, and kind of help out. And within, we should have again people who have kind of either in the household or have come from this fighting theory that are going to stop into the clinics and be available to also help and give feedback and stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the nice thing also about your class, is that it's not just a one person show. It's definitely going to be kind of more of a team effort. And then I know you're going to be available the rest of the week for people who didn't make your clinic or were in your clinic and have questions. You're always at the pickup field, and I assume you'll be available to answer questions and give any sort of advice as well. Yeah?
I have zero responsibility this event, and I just plan on doing pickups and teaching. I'm not doing nothing.
Wait, is this different?
His Majesty asked me to attend and fight in one tournament, and I said, "There you go, that's it." And past that, I was like, "That's the only thing I'm doing." I'm free.
I feel
Dobby is a free elf. I got my sock. I'm done. I'm done.
I feel like you may get conscripted into more things than you're saying, but
Probably so. I try not to, but they come anyway. I was like, it's hard to say no. You're like, okay.
And so one of the things that I know that you that all of us who are really into pickups like you are is about the tree of learning or the tree of woe, depending upon how your day is going. Can you tell me like just a little bit about the tree of learning and where is it at Gulf War? How do we find all the pickup fighters?
We'll be all underneath that oak tree. It used to between the Champions Field and the fort, but the fort's gone. So it'll be there. You'll see all the wagons and the tables. We'll be over there with our 5 gallons of water, all lined up together to do pickups. And most of it is like for my group in particular, just come over and ask for a good time, not a hard time. Like I think a lot of people are they want to prove something, and depending on the skill disparity, that's not a fun process. Probably just be like, hey, I'm trying to work on something, or could you give me, like, be specific. Like asking people for feedback at the end doesn't do any good because I don't know how you teach, or I may know your teachers, but a lot is like, be specific with something you want to do. And odds are, like, every person who's out here teaching stuff understands it. Brannos and I say the same thing a lot. It's just mine comes out as a little bit more hillbilly, and his is sometimes understandable. But everybody has a different way of saying the same thing. You just have to understand how it's said. I can't tell you the amount of people I sent to him. Like, I would say the same thing over and over again. They would go talk to Brannos. Zipster's a great example. He went and talked to Brannos and came back, and I was like, he said it to me, and I was like, I feel like I've been saying that for the last year, but good job.
That's like the video you had me watch.
Yeah, I did. I explained. I was talking about all the frame weight transfer and everything, and you were like not getting it. We watched Brannos' old video where he's teaching with the heater. Video. And you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I was like, okay.
Isn't that awesome? I love that feeling.
Yeah. You're just like, okay. And it's one of those, you're like, sometimes it just takes a different vernacular or a different approach, or even somebody that's like, the people from here, you may not be listening to anymore. Like, you feel like you've heard it all. And sometimes they say the same thing just in a different way, and it makes sense to you. And that works, right? And so I encourage everybody, ask for specific things to work on, and then just try to get 1% better. I was like, we give great examples of when people are trying to improve. They always talk about they want to get better, and our mainstay, what we always say to it, and you'll see on our shirts, is we want you to suck less, and that is relative. Like, find the thing that you do the worst and work on that. All our video reviews about two things: are you reaching? Is your hand, your position right? You find one thing, we work on that. And then 6 weeks later, we do another short video, and you write down your stuff. And if it's the same thing, you keep working on it. If it's not, improve. You just polish your rock a little bit at a time. And it makes it easier to see those gradients and those plateaus and what you're working on. And then you have a documented video review where you can go back on. And we'll talk about that in the class, how we do it. But don't think about you trying to get good or you want to improve. Think about you're trying to suck a little less at something that you're bad at. Everybody was bad at something. And the good fighters are just better at basics. They have less things they suck at, and that's how you have to approach it. Like, what's the thing you're bad at? Work on that. Next thing you know it, you'll be better.
So we do have, like, real quick, because I need to move on to other coaches and we're running out of time, but a quick question, because we're asking everybody, how many Gulf Wars have you been to?
I think I went to the first one in 2010. We missed the one, the COVID one that I was crowned that got canceled. And did we miss the one with the boy?
Yes.
Yeah.
We missed two.
We missed two, right? So the same two. I missed the one I was crowned at that got canceled, and then the year the boy was born.
You missed two, and I missed three.
Yeah.
And then I know you already kind of covered, you taught this class and kind of how and before, but so I and your students already know this, already emailed that to them. If you are going to his clinic, you need to bring everything. That's all your weapons. You need to be in armor. You need to be already warmed up. You need to bring your water, your snacks, whatever it is you're gonna need. Your camera
Bruce
needs
bomb.
to already be set up.
Well,
Your Bruce bomb is later.
I'll have Rags in armor, Valor in armor, myself in armor, and there's a couple others that work with us we're going to give live feedback against the level. I'll probably have my squires there too. because we want to see some active fighting, and we'll give feedback on that, right? And probably take some video of that specifically for them, tell them to bring their camera if they want to document it, so we can go over the parts and pieces, right? And it really helps to understand, like, this is what we're talking about. And you do it on the bag, and you do it in person. We talk about why we use the padded swords, when and where you would use some of that stuff, how you train and drill some of that out. And some instances, like it's flexibility based or strength based. The SCA is not a strength power based game, but there's certainly a threshold for getting stronger at some things. There's a great threshold for being more flexible. So it's finding the things that you lack and working on those, right? And it's just like anything else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being willing to donate 4 solid hours of your time in a row. It's way more than the other coaches other than Count Elias are doing. I know it's a big ask of you, so we really appreciate your time and your willingness to show up and share your knowledge, as well as bring all your past students and everything else. So so thank you so much, Duke Sven.
No problem. Thank you, Grace.
Yeah. Brannos, do you have anything you wanted to ask? Hopefully I covered it all, or he covered it all. I think I don't think I had to do much.
No. And that's the best part. I mean, Sven has a really deep knowledge of what he does and how he does it with people. I think it's going to be a great opportunity, not only for the people he's helping, but even a bigger opportunity for other teachers at other practices to come and watch. Hold off all the questions. You remember that he's the teacher, so his input is all they need. Other input tends to make the class, kind of messes up classes a little bit. But don't be afraid to ask after, because he is very deep in the knowledge of training people. And I think it's, I think there's a huge opportunity to see a different way to help your students somewhere else, especially with the video review, helping, this idea of focusing for a number of weeks on something that's weak and making it better, and then reviewing again is really deep into the true science of fighting. And I think that's a real great conversation. And we'll probably, if you had time, Sven, some point after, I'd love to have you on the show to actually just talk about that whole process, because I think it's a really great process. This is a process they use with lots of real, Olympic sports, top sport, pro sports. But, understanding that and being able to help the people that really want to go in that direction, because it is a commitment, and, is another opportunity to not only grow as a teacher, but also help your students grow. So thank you for bringing all that up. And we will talk later about, another whole episode, because I think that'd be awesome. And you pull some of your guys in to talk about, how they did, how the whole thing worked all the way through.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to, Grace. The main thing about training is that it will take more time and effort than you ever wanted it to be. And you kind of have to, you got to love the process, because to be at the ends of the spectrum, it's going to take all, I was like, you gotta really like it. You got to like it a lot. Yep. You can't just kind of want it. You gotta really want it. And so a lot of people who are asking you to get good, it's hard to explain to them like what that process is.
That sacrifice.
There is no work-life balance. There is no balance. Like you're going to give a lot, and you try not to throw people into deep water, because a lot of people come early. They're like, oh, I would like to do this. And I feel like we don't do a good job as a society explaining what those hours look like, and kind of like to be an outlier like that is more work than it should be. and it doesn't mean anything to anybody else. So it has to mean a lot to you. It has to mean you have to be supported. You couldn't do it alone. I certainly couldn't have done it without Antigone for many of those years. She did a lot of the backbone of the work while I was busy working on it. So there's a lot of buy-in that goes into getting that good at anything. And so I feel like it's probably the thing we do the best is when people ask about being crowned, I know that I try to talk people out of it. I was like, it's a lot. Like, you don't understand the job, like once you understand the job and then you understand what it takes to get there, like work through that. But I would love to do a class on it, or a couple online things. I have a lot more free time and I'm getting my studio and stuff set up so I have my computer, but I'd love to work with you guys again, you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I totally look forward to an episode on this. All right.
Okay, so thank you so much, Duke, Sven, and Brannos for hitting some of those highlights. So one of our next coaches is very new to us, and that is Count Simon. We've had him on the show before, but not as an official teacher. So I'm so excited you'll be able to join us at Gulf War. And your class is, since I messed it up earlier, I'm going to say it correctly this time, at 4 p.m. And it is how to control a fight, which is being applicable to rattan. And it says rapier, I'm assuming also cut and thrust, which is really awesome. So if anybody listening kind of either cross schemes across those or is rapier or cut and thrust focused instead, we're going to have at least a couple of these classes will apply to you, especially Count Simon. So Count Simon, can you tell me about your class? Excited for
Awesome.
it.
Thank you very much. And it's funny, Sven, I was laughing hard when you were talking about the job. I just literally found out how involved and how difficult the job is. So that really made me chuckle a little bit because yes, it's a lot. And so a little background on the class and why I try to make sure that it's applicable to both fields. I actually came up as a rapier guy for almost the first 15 years. I had a shoulder injury and I couldn't really throw real SCA shots. And so I was one of those guys that was kind of shield wall fodder a couple times a year, never really was any good. But I was a natural rapier fighter. I fought MMA, jujitsu, a variety of other things. And so I had that background, but I didn't have the shoulder surgery that allowed me to really fight heavy until I was in my early 30s. And then I lived in the middle of nowhere in the Outlands. And I finally got lucky enough to move to Las Vegas and I became Duke Sean's Grand Squire. In fact, the day that I squired a Tierlock was the day of Sean's first of his traveling classes that he's now been doing for over a decade. And so because of Sean, I got to get all of that knowledge that he has, and I was able to connect with people like Brannos and Sven and Ragval, all of those people. And then about the time I really realized, hey, I might not suck at this, I was already 40. So I was a pretty late bloomer. And I had to really come at it from a very analytical perspective. And that was also kind of when Facebook and YouTube started blowing up. And all of a sudden, there's videos out there. And I was military, so I lived in 7 kingdoms. I've moved 9 times. And so I've trained with all the greats. In fact, I was thinking about it earlier. I'm here with a couple of my real heroes. I've followed Ed around for years, and I've stolen as much as I can from him. I've been watching Brannos's videos. I actually took my guys out to Vegas to be in one of Brannos's classes 7, 8 years ago. Miles and Uther in the West, all over the place. I've been really, really fortunate. And so this class, if you've taken some of those other classes, it may feel like some of them, because my favorite book on training and fighting is the Little Book of Talent. And one of the things that it talks about is steal without apology. And I have thieved from these guys for years to teach my guys. And so like I said, I was really, really lucky to have that since I had started so late, and I didn't maybe have some of the physical tools that the younger guys had. In fact, last year when I won my first crown, I was 56, right? And so that's how kind of everything was kind of beginning to put together. And then, like I said, I saw some of the real greats fight. And so that's how this kind of four-step process came in. And I've taught this class once before. I taught it at our Outlands ANS Collegium last summer, but it's still kind of in evolution. But it does have kind of 4 pieces of it that kind of all go together. And the first is a lot of what Ed was talking about, analyzing the fight. You got to know where you're going, what you're doing, what you're up against. And after being in the military all that time, I'm a big OODA loop guy. And so we will talk a little bit about the OODA loop for anybody who hasn't dealt with that before, and how that works into every part of fighting, observe, orient, decide, act, and as you go through that process. And then kind of understanding, and this is a big thing that I stole from the rapier side and a lot of period fencing manuals. We call it range. We have our ABCD range in heavy weapons, but on the rapier field they call it measure. And so that's something that definitely cross applies to both disciplines, because I'm 5'9" on a good day. Ed is 6.5 feet tall with monkey arms, and I have fought him a ton over the years. And I have to be very, very conscious of where I am before they call lay on with Ed. I've literally had him throw a long wrap or a long stab and kill me a second after lay on. And that's kind of embarrassing. And so you don't want to have that happen very many times. And so that range, that measure, be where you want to be, not where they want you to be. And then tempo. A lot of people just want to go fast, 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 or everybody is on the 1 and the 3 or the 2 and the 4 and the boom, 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 boom on that normal tempo. And being able to break that tempo, slow down, speed it up, pause, wait, a lot of those different things really make a difference in a fight. Because sometimes if you just give it that pause, and this is something that Sean beat into my head for years, is just let that fight come to you a little bit. We all want to go out there and kind of drive things and dictate the fight and, assert our authority. But sometimes it's just better to kind of take a deep breath and let things come to you. And then the last piece is, what shot you want to throw, where you want to put it, delivering the right blow in the moment is just critical. And it was actually something that my former squire, who's now a knight as well, picked up so quickly. You were talking about the 10,000 hours, Brannos. And I had 3 guys that I just kind of got thrown together with when I moved out here. And he is the guy that just jumped in with both feet. Short, chubby, computer nerd. Nobody had any clue 5-6 years later that this guy was going to be a demon, but he put in his 1,000 hours. I mean, he just worked and worked and worked. And he figured out how to do, the right shot at the right time. And very quickly, he was giving me all I wanted. And so, those are the things that it kind of all falls together there. And, kind of rounds into, all of the things that you need to do to, put the other guy where you want him, which is kind of the basis of what I do. I definitely spend a lot of time, footwork and placement and thoughts and, strategy. And that's my whole thing. I'm 5'9". I'm not a very big dude. I've been fighting uphill with all the SCA hill trolls for years, and I'm in my 50s. I'm not as fast as I used to be. So I have to be very particular about how I do things. And so this is kind of an insight into how that goes. And Antigone, this will be my second Gulf War.
Nice.
I joined the Air Force like right around Gulf War I, and I didn't get to make it. And then I was overseas, largely on the West Coast, or way up in the East. And so Gulf Wars was just never really something that, was feasible. But it's something that my wife and I love. I went a couple of years ago and just had a ball, and have been trying to get back ever since. And so we made it a real priority to get out there this year. And I really appreciate you asking me to teach, and just, being able to be part of this with some of my, all-time SCA heroes. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm so happy that you were able to make it this year and that you agreed to come give us, at least an hour of your time. And I know you'll be available the whole week for anybody that has questions or wants pickup fights at the Tree of Learning or Whoa, as you may be. I think it's
we
funny.
do a lot of pickups, and since I'm the last class of the day, I'll stick around, and if anybody wants to hang around and discuss further, or be around the campfire, talk more, I'll talk about fighting all day long. Ed will tell you I've worn his ear off before. So
I believe it. I think all of us who are truly at the obsession level, which I think you are, just like I am, and pretty much everybody here on this show tonight, we're at the obsession level. I think we could all probably sit, and you probably couldn't get us to stop talking about fighting. Although people try, there's a fun game where people try to have, like, when we get together, they try to see how long it'll be before we start talking about fighting, and they try to see if they can get us to stop talking about fighting. If they do, how long is that? There's a whole drinking game, in case you're unaware of that, Count Simon. So if you see people laughing and drinking while you're talking, there's a drinking game, just so you know.
I get it. My wife lets me know that all the time. She's a Duchess. She was queen before in Atlanta 29, 30 years ago. And so I'm not even her first night. She loves to poke on me a little bit about that. But that's something we'll you get 3 or 4 of us and we'll talk for hours.
That's
So,
true.
That's the disclosure I give people, as I say, I will talk more than you will want to listen. So be careful what questions you ask.
For sure.
People feel free to tell me to shut up at any time.
I try to keep an eye out for the deer in headlights look to know when to stop.
Exactly.
Or the zoning out, the disassociation that happens sometimes.
That means they're
right?
really focused. That means they're really,
Yes,
really focused.
that's it exactly. So last question for you, Duke or Count Simon. I'm foreshadowing
No worries.
apparently today.
No worries.
So do students need to bring anything to your class? Because I know it's more of a cerebral class, it sounds like, but do they need to bring anything?
Shoes that they can move around in.
Okay.
We will be doing a couple of drills. I will bring anything that we need for those drills. It's mostly about, where you're going to be and how you're going to move. So just wear shoes that you're comfortable in, shoes that you fight in. And that's pretty much it. I'll take care of the rest.
Perfect. Awesome. And then if you ever find a couple of inches of height for me, so I can at least
my
be
God.
5'9" with you, let me know. Because I'm going to tell you, down here at 5'2", it's pretty rough.
Well, at 57, I feel like I'm shrinking. I don't even know that I'm actually 5'9" anymore.
Oh, no.
I know.
Well,
I told my
again.
doctor today, they're like, how tall are you? I'm like, I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm probably 5'8".
This was the first time in a long time I actually was in the doctor yesterday, and I was underneath the 5'9" line.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's when you stand on your tippy toes, just so you can make yourself feel better, right?
yeah,
Thank you.
fighting uphill my whole life.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and
Thanks,
I'm so
Mom.
excited you're able to be a part of Coaches Corner, and hopefully we can grab you for a Penzic or a Guilford in the future as well.
We will be at Penzic this year.
Perfect.
In fact, we got a storage room last year,
Nice.
and we've got stuff stored out there. So
Nice.
we
Perfect.
definitely have to go to justify the expense.
Great, excellent. See what I'm doing here, Brannos? I'm pre-shadowing, kind of putting the seed in to pull him in for.
There you are. That's right.
So one of our coaches has been so patient with us, and I know you're not feeling well. Thank you so much, Sir Scythe. You have a class at the beginning of the day at 1 p.m. with His Royal Highness Louis, talking about which is actually a class I've taken I think 2 times now, and that's lead versus follow, who controls the fight. So hopefully you feel well enough you can give us a little chat about what that is, what to expect, and kind of some more about that.
Indeed. This is a class that was born of my experience as a student, where I learned footwork. I could move. We got real good at that. And then I would still get fussed at constantly of like, why aren't you controlling the fight? Why aren't you leading this, that, the other? And I was like, but I am. And it turns out I was not, because I had never once been in control of a fight and therefore didn't even know what it felt like and didn't know I wasn't doing it. So Brannos very patiently broke it down to extremely small levels together with me, and we figured out how to teach it to me. And so now I go and try to teach it to everyone else, so that people who don't even realize they have an issue can learn how to do this. And it is really all about, like you said, who is in control of the fight. And this is largely from a like movement and positioning, or we hear it talked about as initiative a lot. It's all of that kind of wrapped into one. And so what my class does is talks about the concept and tries to sort of explain it and differentiate between leading, controlling, etc. in a fight versus following. Talk about how to use both of those things strategically, because sneak preview, like there's no moral failure attached to being in follow mode or anything like that. There's uses for both. And then the big thing is I share it is a sort of 5-step series of drills to build that skill set from the ground up the way I had to learn it. So if you come in with zero knowledge whatsoever, you can get all the way there using this series of drills, not in one day, but we teach the whole thing in one day. And the other big thing is a lot of the class is actually pointed not just at the students, but at teachers, the person who's going to be in the teaching role in all of these drills, because there's a very specific job that you have to do there. So this class is good not just for people who think they need to learn this skill, but for people who go, oh, I have someone at home that needs to learn this. I can learn how to teach it to them. It gives you tools for that. So that is what we're hoping for. And this will be my 3rd time teaching the class. So while it is still, as far as I'm concerned, under construction and in progress, it's getting a little better every time.
I think every class we teach is under construction. I know every single one of mine, at the end of it, I'm like, I could have done this better. And if I go and watch the video, I'm just like, I take notes and things like that. So I know I've taken this class twice. I took it at Penzic the first time I took it. And we had people in there they had been fighting less than a year all the way to, Super Duke that were taking this. And I think every single person got something out of it. Obviously, the newer person, it was just kind of exposing them to the concept. But it definitely was really awesome. It taught me something that I did not know about and how that was. And it's really helped my fighting immensely. It's probably one of the better things I learned at Penzic, to be quite honest. And then I went to On Tier with you, and I took the class there, and it was a refresher, and I learned even more, even though I'd already taken it. And then I also learned what you're talking about, which is how to teach it to other people, and then took it home to when I was living in Dallas and kind of taught some of the people there that. And so this class is not just to learn the concept, it's also to teach the concept if you're struggling to teach that, which I think is fantastic. And Scythe does an amazing job. Louis is a great assistant, but the way Scythe teaches it and has really struggled and worked through it, it really kind of, I resonated with that because I kind of struggled with it a little bit as well. And so having 2 people teaching it to you along with all of her drills were amazing. The drills themselves, which I think almost all the Penzic classes had some sort of drill in them to help you understand the concept to take it home, which was really cool. But it
goes a long way towards helping learn it every time.
Yeah, exactly. That goes back to the whole thing of take 5 minutes a day and work on one of these concepts, and having a drill that you can take, you can do that, which is really cool. So thank you, Scythe, I know you're both heirs, but you both have responsibilities, you have places to be, and so taking an hour of your day out to come and teach and help support Coaches Corner is really amazing. We appreciate your ongoing support.
We get a little more free time here.
I know, and I get to camp with you this year. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us tonight and being willing to share and sit through tonight. We do have 3 other technical classes. We have 2, which Brannos is teaching, one of which with Jarl Alienon. And then we do have the clinic for Count Elias. For Count Elias's clinic, just in case anybody is wondering, and then we'll let Brannos do his thing where he tells us about his amazing classes, along with some stuff about Coaches Corner, what's coming up. But Count Elias's clinic is going to be fighting fundamentals and tournament fighting mindset. I helped organize it. He's already picked his students, and we sent the email out. And we did have a plethora of people that applied for clinics. Really appreciate everyone who wanted to learn. If you didn't get into the clinic, do not fear, do not worry. Both he and Sven will be available all week, and they are both, they love people coming up and asking them questions or to work with them. So you can still ask them for questions and probably get a lot out of it. For his clinics, he does have anywhere from 3 to 5 in each, or from 4 to 5 in each one. If you want to come watch his clinic, you need to contact him first, either before or at Gulfport and make sure it's okay. Kind of same thing with Sven's class. Please don't go there just to sit and ask questions and interrupt the class. That's really not what these are for. These are very geared towards the people that are there. And if you could do us a favor and respect the instructors this year, we would greatly appreciate it. But his class clinics won't be recorded by us, but if he records them or students record them, that's totally okay. And really a lot of his students, they are very lower level fighters. So he is implementing a lot of what Duchess Helga talks about, with starting with the base of fighting fundamentals that she has, and then kind of layering on a lot of his things. He has a strong background in wrestling tournaments through college, really strong ability with tournament mindset. He's helped me actually a lot, work on a lot of things. He's a very great instructor. So I'm super excited that we have him on Coaches Corner as a part of a clinic, and then hopefully we can wrangle him to Penzic and maybe get him to teach a couple of classes there as well. But enough on that. Next up is Duke Brannos to talk about his 2 amazing classes, which I think I want to say I've been to. I think I've been to the internal or external tension, or I audited it real fast because I couldn't go to it, because I do remember that class.
Yeah, I think, we'll start with that one. That one's still actually mostly in development. What I have found though is it is definitely an intermediate to advanced class. Understanding and controlling one's tension is very difficult. In the very beginning, you really have to have and not have to think about all your fundamentals, and that's where we're really trying to get to, is past the primary, how do I throw this, where does my foot, where's this or that, into the mental side, where you can start watching your breathing, your body tension, your mental tension itself. I've had some issues just in the past month or so where mentally I am relaxing too much and my tension is too low. So it's allowing me to get hit sometimes, and mostly because I'm not in a place to react fast enough. And that's a physical external tension issue as well. Very much like the gunfighter scenario, where if you don't have any tension in your body, you actually have to build a tension into your body before you can actually move. So there's a 2-phase process there, where if you're over tension, then you have to relax before you can move, which is another problem. There's a place that sits in that lower tension range that you're just ready to move. And so, tension is a very delicate place. And unfortunately, when you're a beginner, you're working on so many things. It's all really, in many ways, it's one of the things that you shouldn't necessarily have to work on when you're a beginner. When you're a beginner, spend the time on the things that really matter. And that is defense and offense and movement and all of those good fundamentals first. So this class will also talk a lot about Eastern European tension on your opponent. And the key, I use that a lot to essentially always stay at the edge of range and give and take, but always trying to find a place where I can make my opponent hold their air and tension in their body while I'm relaxing. This is very much like runners do this. They control their heartbeat, and then they'll burst a little bit to pull ahead and drag somebody with them, even when they know that person that probably has a kick at the end. And then what they'll do is they'll let off on it. That person will get out in front, and then they'll realize that their heart rate's too high. They'll start relaxing. And then that person who was originally driving it picks it up again and never allows that person to relax their heart rate. And that burns them out. And that sounds like the long game, and it is. And that's in fighting, it can be the long game. We have a lot of fights that are 30 seconds long. A 3-minute fight is a long fight for some people. Now, I've seen Edward fight many times, and I've seen 10-minute fights and 20-minute fights, right? You have to learn that it can take anything, and that mental discipline is a very big part of that. So that's why we labeled that, intermediate to advanced. mostly probably in that advanced range, but you will get stuff out of it if you're in intermediate range. But you'll see a lot of this. Some of my favorite boxers, but Usyk does it right now. If you want to look at the heavyweight champion of the world, that's Usyk. He came actually over with two other boxers, and of course Lomo was one of them, and with his Lomachenko's father was all three of their coaches, and if you ever get the chance to watch, it was an amazing thing. Their movement and understanding of the game is incredible. And Usyk could show you. He went through. Of course, he was a champion in the light heavyweight. He wasn't a cruiser, light heavyweight, and then heavyweight as a very small heavyweight. So and he's defended it a number of times, and he has another defense coming up. So it's a very interesting fight. Hopefully, everybody gets a chance to learn from it a little bit. So that's the tension class. And then we had a great coaches corner once with Alan on and Rongvalder and myself talking about fakes, freezes, how to convince people. A lot of that convincing is adding some tension. If you have no tension while you're throwing a fake or a freeze, it doesn't work. So a lot of people don't take tension as, and I apologize, I'm grinding off of this, take tension by itself. They take it as part of something you're doing, and which is fine. The tension class will break it out by itself. This class, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a lot, and I'm going to let actually Al-Anon talk a lot about it because I've sat through his stuff and he has some amazing things. But I do a lot of freezes, and that is just breaking timing. And Simon is going to talk about that some, and adding tension to an opponent before you throw so that they have to relax to actually recover and block. So there's a lot of different ways, and I'm sure Al-Anon's going to cover that. If he doesn't, I'm going to help him in his class. But I'm really looking forward to seeing his perspective. If you haven't had a chance to fight Al-Anon or see him fight, an amazing fighter. So definitely, if you get a chance to get to his class or watch a class later, it'd be well worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw, and before I finish, I guess I made everybody else say this. My first Golf Wars was way before we really had the internet. So I knew it was in Lumberton, Mississippi in '92. It was first year they moved it from June to March. And I think it was the first year of the Thornton. And it was amazing because I just knew it was in a Lumberton. So I grabbed a couple of friends and we started driving down, and we're like, we're going to see some other SCA person down there and we'll just follow them to the event because there's no internet. I had no address. We just knew the city it was in. And unfortunately, we didn't see anybody. And we got down there. I'm like, okay, as soon as we see a supermarket, let's pull over and cruise the supermarket parking lot so we could find an SCA sticker. And so we were cruising the first parking lot. We learned where the local creek was if we wanted to go swimming. We learned where the ice cream store was, and so that one didn't work so well. And then we found the next exit was a big one, and I was like, right there, SCA sticker. And I'm like, and it just happened to be somebody was coming out, and it's like, okay, wait, I'll go talk to them. And before I could even get out of there, like, hey, Brannos, how you doing? I'm like, and I apologize, I didn't remember them. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And are you going to Golf Wars? And they're like, no, I live here now. I'm like, really? I'm like, shit. Do you know where Golf Wars is? And like, yeah, I do. I'll take you there. But that was my first Golf Wars. I literally camped under the tree of woe.
So I just have a quick question. How far of a drive was that without knowing where you were going?
I was in like 15, 16 hours. You just have to have the trust.
That's only slightly longer than it should be. That's
right. Well, the speed limit was lower back then too. So
it's a 414 now. So
yeah. That's hilarious. But you're right.
Oh
You go to
yeah.
Walmart or the liquor store near there, you
Yeah.
will find somebody in garb or with an SCA sticker in the parking lot, and they
Exactly.
will definitely tell you how excited they are to be at Gulf War. Like, hands down, if you get lost, just go to a Walmart in the nearby area.
Don't feel
That
too
is
bad about that,
100% it.
Brannos. Those of us that have been a lot of places and know a lot of people. I mean, a lot of us have, you're pretty distinctive looking, and so am I. And a lot of people come up and like, hey, and I'm like, hi.
That's what my wife, thank God, she is so good at it. But
And
I
we
think
get hit in the head a
everyone
lot.
is the same way.
We get hit in the head a lot.
Yes,
Hey,
that's what I
so
say.
you did miss one question that we asked
All
everybody
right, what
else,
is
and
it?
that is, what do students need to bring to your 2 classes, Brannos?
Realistically, we'll have some weapons there. I'll bring. I have to rebuild my foam weapons again, but we'll have some foam weapons there. We'll have. We'll borrow some swords. We'll have extra swords. But if you want to bring your sword, bring your sword. It helps in the tension class. But then there's a lot of other things we can do even without it. So it's not a huge deal. And it's interesting. One thing I found very interesting in how everybody talked here, it was really the weapons and armor and things like that aren't necessarily always what's needed in classes. I also noticed that understanding your position and range and footwork really ran across a lot of this group of people. For everybody listening, I would hope that they see that. I hope they listen to the common thing of all of these great fighters here, and that's a big part of it.
Well, and a lot of us
One
know
other
each
thing.
other well.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cross-pollination. Like, I see Gabe and Xerxes all the time. I've run
Yep.
around with Ed for years. Like, we're all, and we talked about earlier, we all love to talk about fighting. So all that stuff, we're probably all in the same wavelength with that.
Count Simon, you talked about stealing some stuff from all these people unapologetically. I may or may not have to admit that some of the stuff in my class may or may not have been from videos I saw Brannos 5 years ago when I started, may or may not. So there may be some commonalities in there.
I just love
when
it.
Duke U came out, I basically spent hundreds of hours watching Duke U videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so we did Ross, we did have like one quick thing. I totally missed it with Scythe. We forgot to ask Scythe how many Gulf Wars Scythe has been to.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but this will be, I think, my 6th.
Okay. 6. Fantastic. We talked about how many times class, and then do they need to bring anything to your class?
No.
No. Okay.
We will not need any equipment or anything. Like they said before, wear decent shoes. It's definitely movement-based drills, but otherwise, nope.
Perfect. And in case anybody missed it, every single one of these classes, for the most part, are going to have some sort of movement in them. So please make sure you wear really good, comfortable shoes, your fighting shoes. Bring a chair in case you need it. We will not have any at the field. The field is just an open field. So if you need a chair, or a blanket, or a sunbrella, or a hat, please make sure you bring that, because you'll be out there for 4 hours, and that can kind of get a little overwhelming if you haven't been there. Wear your sunscreen, hydrate. And then I did have one very last question. We had a special guest tonight during the show that nobody, I think, noticed except for maybe me, and that is Ed.
No,
What's
I
your
know
cat's
that she's
name?
watching.
What's your cat's name? Because this cat has been on the show the entire time.
Elvis. He's named such because he's a vocal singer from time to time.
Oh, he's been a great overlord, though.
This is where he gets his treats from.
Well, he's been very attentive to every single coach that has been on. So I just wanted to. Oh, I see.
Oh, I see.
Well, welcome, guest Elvis. Thank you for joining us tonight. Brannos, thank you so much for entrusting me with Gulf Wars Symposium. I look forward to seeing all of our coaches and all of the students. If anybody has any questions leading up to the event or during the event, please just reach out and let me know. So that concludes pretty much our show tonight. Brannos, if you have any plugs you want to do for Coaches Corner.
The one plug I do have is, and I mentioned this to a lot of the coaches earlier today, since we had so many new coaches on here, and I'm hoping that we get a few more episodes, and that is, Coaches Corner is really for everybody, and that includes I'm working on getting. I've actually had somebody ask on the archery side if they could do something on Coaches Corner, and we've done some rapier conversations, and we've been kind of searching if to kind of add some more content to that, including Duchess was trying to put something together to do video review on the rapier side. So we are definitely jumping in a little deeper, and hopefully we can bring you more content in those areas. But on the other end of that too, putting on something like this, we've done it a couple years here at Golf Wars, and now we're really condensing it at Penzic, really condensing this at Golf Wars, adding some more things. We could use help. If you are just wanting to come out and help us, we would love to have more moving cameras to live stream as people are doing things, make sure that cameras are set up, microphones are working. All those things take time, and we've been lucky enough between Sadb, Louis, myself, and a couple other coaches to make that happen. But adding 2 classes at the same time starts making that a little bit harder. So if you're interested, if you know somebody, another fighter, squire, or whatever that may be interested in doing it, it's a great way to get a chance to meet some of the most incredible people in this community and get to know them. And I guarantee you get to know them, they will spend time with you, and that growth and them seeing you put your time in to help others is really one of those things that makes them look and want to put time into. So we are definitely looking for volunteers. So if you have a little bit of time and could spend it, reach out to Antigone or myself, and we'll put a little list of people together, and we'll try to break it up across maybe a couple of people. We'd like a little consistency, but a couple hours here and there, or just let us know what kind of time you have.
Kind of just one last thing, the generosity of the people that I know in this group, and the kindness and the willingness to help has just blown me away over the years. And that's a big part of why I wanted to be part of this.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming. Like I said, really all we're doing is spotlighting people that have been doing it for years. And I think that's the best part. And everybody wants to help each other, and in a way we're helping ourselves a lot, right? I'm a far better teacher, hopefully, than I used to be. I learn stuff constantly from the show, from people, and I really enjoyed it. I take a lot of notes, and it's been incredible. But you're right. The best part is almost everybody I've met on this show really wants to give, and that's an amazing thing. All right. I think other than that, our next show is going to be we're going to cover, probably have some folks back and talk about their classes a little bit, and talk about Golf Wars a little bit, maybe some of the battles here and there. And we'll probably, that'll be our next one right after we return from Golf Wars.
Yep.
So thanks everybody once again. And everybody be safe out there. People going to Golf Wars, be safe driving, traveling, or however you're getting there. And I look forward to seeing everybody there and getting some time. So
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night.